There are kids out there that have been diagnosed with ADHD, and their real problem might be that they're not getting enough sleep. On average, teenagers need 9 hours of sleep at night. A child who is school age will need about 10 hours of sleep, and a preschool child will need 11 hours of sleep. So those are averages, and within those age groups, an individual child may need more or less sleep, so you have to think about what the child's needs are and base the amount of sleep they need on that, as opposed to following the strict rule. The most obvious thing, which is just being sleepy during the day, falling asleep in situations where they shouldn't be falling asleep. School-age children should not be excessively sleepy. Teenagers, they oftentimes are a little bit more sleepy, but school-age children should not be falling asleep at school or if they're riding in the car, that type of thing. So that's perhaps one of the first things you'll look for. Having said that, young school-age children, preschool children may not demonstrate sleepiness as much as adolescents and adults do during the day. So you have to look for other signs of it, and those include, as this study suggested, impulsivity, hyperactivity, inability to sit and focus on something, always moving around, or irritability, extreme moodiness or fussiness. In the case of snoring, we'd be concerned about obstructive sleep apnea, which actually children with ADHD have a higher incidence of obstructive sleep apnea. Also, there's a disorder called periodic leg movements, where children and adults, it can happen in both children and adults, frequently move their legs at night and can disrupt your sleep. In younger children, we can see sleep terrors as something that can cause disruptions in their sleep at night. Also sleepwalking in a little bit older children, school-age children. A common thing we see in young children is what's called sleep onset association disorder. And this is where a child falls asleep in a parent's arm and then they're put to bed. As soon as they're put to bed, they wake up, and when the parent tries to leave, the child starts crying. Or when they wake up at night, we all have arousals at nighttime, but in most cases you fall right back asleep. Oh, this child, because their parent isn't there to rock them back to sleep, they wake up. So that's something that can be very frustrating for a parent and a younger child from 6 months to 4 years of age. In teenagers, there's a disorder called delayed phase sleep disorder, and it's a natural phenomenon that teenagers want to fall asleep later than you do when you're a younger pre-adolescent or even an adult. So this teenager is staying awake till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night, and then when they have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they're very tired. So that's a very common thing that I see in teenagers. And just insomnia that can be secondary to depression or other diseases is a fairly common thing that we can see, or primary insomnia is another thing that I see a fair amount of, and that's more commonly in adolescents also. If your child isn't getting that much sleep, then I would consider talking to your doctor about whether that might be the issue as opposed to whether ADHD is the issue. And physicians always wonder if there's something else going on, but it's sometimes sleep is not discussed in much detail, so it might be missed.